Well, and I like it too, but it, you know, a little bit's okay. I've had it up. And there are these two we have to do separately, right? All the rescinds.
Yes. So,
Is this kind of a surprise or not? Or
no, it was expected. This one was a disappointment from Weedy. Because she's really good and she's young. And
Going to a different school? Or
husband was transferred.
Okay.
Husband was transferred.
You ready, Sally?
She is now, after she hits me.
It's 5:15. We'll call this regular meeting to order. I'd like to recognize everybody in the audience this evening. Would you please stand and recite the pledge with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving on to school board norms. Cedric, would you like to read those?
Decisions will be based on the board's strategic plan, its mission, and what's best for the students. The board will act as stewards of tax dollars. Board members will complete foundation work, be prepared for the meetings. Meetings will be efficient. All perspectives will be voiced and heard, and all board members will maintain a professional decorum.
Okay, thank you, Cedric. We have nothing under public communications. Any conflicts of interest to declare? Hearing none, moving into consent agenda, motion to approve. Motion by Bob, seconded by Brenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving into our regular agenda, under recognition, we have recognition of the volleyball team. Diane, would you like to? Oh, Jennifer's going to? Okay. And then when your name is called, if you get, please come forward. We have a pin for you.
Congratulations to the girls volleyball team for their successful 2017-18 year. They received second place at state. Team members are Hannah Sheely, a senior awarded all-conference, all-state, and all-tournament team, Rachel Sheely, a freshman, Olivia Nihil, a senior, Michaela Kurtz, a senior awarded all-conference, Cameron Selvig, a sophomore, Caitlin Schwind, a sophomore, Abby Kallenbach, a junior, Megan Gaffney, a senior awarded all-conference, all-state, and outstanding senior award for Class A volleyball, Jessa Anderson, a sophomore, Alyssa Eukstead, a senior, Grace Hagerly, a freshman, Courtney Peterson, a junior awarded all-conference, all-state, and all-tournament team, Ella Rolitson, a freshman, and Jordan Paulson, a senior. Congratulations also to Coach Sarah Hagerly and assistant coaches Christy Eberhardt, Amber Romlow, and Amy Tarno. Thank you all for a job well done.
Come here. Get close.
Why is Amy next to me? Always. How was that, Mexico? I did not go to any.
One more, sorry.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have Award of Distinction. And Diane, would you like to read those? And then when your name is called, please come forward.
As background, it's good to know that Mr. Bob Toso nominated Ms. Jennifer Michaelenko and Mrs. Cheryl McIntyre for special recognition with these awards of distinction. Special recognition provided to district employees or community members for helping the overall mission and goals of the school district through cooperative efforts, sponsorship of programs, grant writing, or service to the district above and beyond. Ms. Michaelenko and Mrs. McIntyre and Jamestown Public Music Department presented portions of the Messiah again this year. The production includes the high school choir and orchestra, as well as community members who sing with the choir and play with the orchestra. This allows students to be exposed to one of the most important and beautiful pieces of music, but also gives community and students an opportunity to interact. The students also see that music is a lifetime activity. Thank you to both of them.
Moving on to correspondence, we have none under reports. Do we have student council report tonight, or? No? Okay. Moving into superintendent's report. Rob? Diane. Oh.
Okay, the written report I provided is included. I did provide a little bit more information on the Choice Ready component we've talked about in the past. And I do think, we talked about it a little bit at our professional development earlier today. And I think it's really important to recognize and understand this is something that as educators we've been asking for a long time. We've been asking for a growth model. We've been asking for something that says beyond, let's not rate educators on one test one day. And this really does that. If you look at slide 6 of that attached presentation, you get a chance to see, again, slide 6 shows the two different models, what will be the growth model at the elementary level, what will be the growth model at the high school, and all the different components in there. And again, this is something we've been asking for. And there are components, to be honest, of the North Dakota Choice Ready, what's come from that is slightly different than what was recommended by those of us that have served as members of ESSA. But it is a great step in the right direction, and I think we need to recognize that. And I think it allows us to do a few things. One, celebrate the things that we do well already, and it gives us an opportunity and a chance to grow and become even better. And just to touch on a few components of that guidance, I just want to walk the board through. So basically what the Choice Ready document shows, if you look at the essential skills at the top, these are things that all students must have. And that is beyond the diploma or the GED, the statutory requirements, things like career education, individual counseling, financial literacy, passing the North Dakota Civics Test. And then out of this collection of 8 different indicators, our students will need to show 4 of them, that they have completed at least 4 of those. And as we look at how schools are servicing students now, this is somewhat of a heavy lift. There are things that are not intuitive to the practice now. And that means that we're going to have to be creative. That means we're going to have to look at ways in which we can meet these, because as we look at those 8, all 8 of those indicators are great indicators for students. Community service, high attendance rate, work-based learning experiences, involvement in activities, completing capstone projects, online learning, using 21st century skills. Those are all very powerful practices and indicators for success beyond post-secondary or in post-secondary. So beyond those essential skills, we would then show that students in 2 of the 3 areas below post-secondary, what they've called post-secondary ready, workforce ready, military ready. So students would have to meet all the essential skills and then 2 of these other readiness components. If you look at the post-secondary, that is an ACT minimum or 2 or more additional indicators, things like taking advanced placement, receiving an A, B, or a C, dual credit course, again, an A, B, or C in English or math, Algebra 2, advanced placement, workforce ready, more in the CTE areas, complete 3 CTE courses, complete career-ready practices, dual credit, work keys, and then military ready. There's more indicators in there, but I think you get the point. This is our first year, so we're going to take what as the students work through the skills and the indicators, the components of choice readiness. This will be our baseline year, and then beyond that, we need to show growth every year beyond that. So again, our baseline year right now, and as we work through our CTE, or our ESSA discussions as we've had as a board, I thought it was important to bring back the choice ready components, just again to get that with a little more guidance that we've received from the Department of Public Instruction lately, and bring it back to you and give you just a little more guidance. As you look through that written report also, I have attached a guiding document to help understand each of those components. And, for those that are interested, that's also available through online through my report, so you can see that also. In terms of policy updates and the CTC updates, I have those written comments there. We are making some changes in terms of how we address some of the CTC requirements. If you look through the agreement that we'll be bringing forward to you here soon, we did add Gackle Streeter. It looks like Pingree Buchanan is likely to stay within the consortium now, which I think is a very positive thing for those students also. But as we looked through those agreements, there were some things that we needed to improve upon in terms of the process. And so we'll be making those updates. Things like we're bringing forward that, different requirements to the board for approval as the operating board. We've discussed that before, how this board is the operating board for the CTC. We are pursuing a Striving Reader Grant. Those of you that might not be familiar with that, about almost a $29 million grant was received by the Department of Public Instruction to improve literacy in birth through grades 12. And so we will be working with a literacy team to create a grant application that we think could be really very impactful for our district and for the community of Jamestown in terms of literacy. So it's something we're very excited about. It has just been released. The application has just been released. They've just had a webinar recently, just released a little bit of guidance for us, and we'll be having another webinar later on this week. So it's something that's very exciting, and we're looking forward to bringing more information to you as it comes. But other than that, if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Rob on his report, or? None? Okay. Moving on to board education. Number 1, we have the role of middle school counselors. Lindsay and Danelle, would you like to come forward, please?
Yep, that's fine.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Kichocho, and this is Danielle Sheeler, and we're the middle school counselors at Jamestown Middle School. The purpose of our kind of presentation is hopefully by the end of our presentation, you kind of just understand what we do in our program for school counseling at the middle school and just our daily activities that we do.
Closer.
Is that better?
Closer to the mic.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
I can do that. It's on?
Nope.
On? Yeah, it's on. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Just coming up there. Okay, we're going to have 2 different handouts today. We're going to reference our ASCA, which is the American School Counselors Association model. And the first is a reference just to that. And then the second one is just about why middle school counselors are very unique and just the overall importance of them. So we're going to probably reference them. So those are those 2 handouts. Okay, the first part of this is just who we are. We hold a master's degree in school counseling. We also have to have different licensures and credentials. And so we are credentialed through the North Dakota Department of Public Instruction and through ESPB. We do have to have our licensure renewal every 4 years. And to keep up with that, we have to have 5 professional development credits every 4 years. And those professional development credits are usually in our school counseling realm. How we run our program is both through the national ASCA standards and also through our state North Dakota School Counselors Association standards. So that's how we run our middle school program, is both based on the ASCA standards and then the North Dakota School Counselors Association. They're very similar with that. Middle school is a very unique experience to be a school counselor here. We essentially go through two very big transitions for kids. They're transitioning from childhood to adolescence, coming from the elementary to the middle school, and then we transition them again from middle school to high school. So those are really two big things in the life of our middle schoolers. And we can say that the sixth graders that come in are very unique and different from the eighth graders coming out. So we have a wide variety of student needs. So they're going through lots of transitions, first of all, and they're going through lots of changes. And we're just here to help support them through that time. They're trying to become more independent, but yet they still need some guidance, and that's where we come in. We hope to come in. They're seeking more peer approval through their peers and looking for that, maybe rather than going to their parents. So it can be a very stressful time for our students here at the middle school. So we're just here to help them.
Excuse me. This year just touches on the American School Counseling Association, which is where both of those handouts came from. And this really provides us with our framework for our school counseling program. North Dakota School Counseling Association's framework is practically identical to the American School Counseling Association. However, there are some standards and competencies, such as the CTC, from the CTC, that we would have to follow as well. For instance, in North Dakota, as middle school counselors, we are required to do a 4-year plan with all of our 8th graders. So we sit down and have a meeting and go over their 4-year plan for high school. So that would be something that's unique just to North Dakota that maybe ASCA wouldn't have. We use the ASCA National Model breaks our framework down into 3 kind of domains. We cover academic, career, and also personal social. And each domain has its own goals, standards, and guidelines, which is where we would align our guidance curriculum to, is where this primarily comes into play. So we use this for our program development as well, though. Not only with our guidance, but what are we talking with our students on in one-on-one situations. And also, we might be doing some more school-wide programming. It's not always just about what we're doing in guidance, what we're doing individual. We might be working with our advisory council here at school to implement like a school-wide strategy or to provide input on those types of things. ASCA also encourages data-driven programming, and we're always striving to use more of that. We will touch base a little bit more on how we've been trying to gather some more data and use that to drive our programming here in the next couple slides.
So the next one is just what is our school counseling program like? How do we serve our students? And a part of it is our guidance curriculum. We go in and teach in classes on different topics. We teach on career, academic, and then personal social. We have to teach lessons on those 3 domains. We usually go in around once per month in 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. We hit all of the classrooms per month. And again, we have standards and benchmarks that we have to abide by, both by ASCA and the North Dakota School Counselors Association. So we also serve our students, obviously, by seeing them through individual counseling sessions. This, I would say, is the bulk of our delivery program. I mean, it's the majority of our day is we're spent in our offices seeing students one-on-one and individual counseling. Our counseling sessions are confidential. Our students know that. The exceptions, of course, are if they say that they're going to hurt themselves, if they're planning on hurting someone else, or if someone is hurting them, then we have to break confidentiality, and we try to go over those confidentiality rules with our students so it's very clear. We do periodically offer small group counseling sessions where we would get a group of 6th graders working together on the same topic, 7th graders, 8th graders also. So individual school counseling, meeting with one-on-one with students, and then group counseling. And then we also have indirect services, and that includes meeting with teachers. As school counselors, we go into the team meetings to really try to get an idea of the students that they're concerned about in the different houses. So we meet with all the 6th grade houses, the 7th grade houses, and the 8th grade houses to really get a feel of how their students are doing and get the teachers' views on it because they see them every day. So we consult with teachers. A lot of our day is spent too on consulting with parents. We realize that parents are an essential role and we want to build that relationship with them. So we really need to communicate what we're seeing at school and how we can help their students too. So we consult with parents, special education staff, social services, mental health counselors within our community. We really try to collaborate with, and just other professionals in our district and in the community. We really try to reach out to them and get some resources. Another is crisis response. If there's ever an emergency situation with one of our students or our families, we're there to react and help in those crisis situations. So that's just kind of an outline of the different and how we serve our students within our middle school.
All right, so how do we find students? We kind of laughed when we said this. We're like, I don't know, they just kind of show up, but which is true, which is a self-referral. We also do teacher referrals, like Lindsay referred to, that we meet with our houses. I don't know if all of you are aware, middle school, each grade is divided into half and they have houses. So we meet with them. And this is part of our data. They are filling out referral sheets for us on students that they're concerned about, documenting some interventions that they've already tried. You know, what are we doing in the classroom and what have we done already? So then that's where we would step in and kind of decide, you know, is this a counseling issue? Do we need to, you know, go to special ed? So that's where we kind of get some referrals from that. And we're keeping data on that, on what type of referrals are we getting from our teachers. Is it academic? Is it behavioral? Is it personal, social? What kind of needs are they seeing? Parent referrals, so parents can always call, and this happens quite often. Hey, can you meet with my child? And, you know, they kind of explain what's going on. So we see students that way. And then also our counseling survey. And this is where we are gathering our data and trying to get more data. We used to do it pencil paper the old way. It was very bulky and time consuming, and it was hard to get through 550 surveys to find out and to categorize. We now, last year we did a trial run on SurveyMonkey. We weren't super familiar with it, so it was kind of cumbersome. But this year we've gotten a better grasp on it. We worked with with Pam Brown to get it a little bit more user friendly. And we just finished those up last week. It was very slick. It took about 15 minutes. And a lot of that was making sure the computers were going and they were logging in. And we had a little snafu with SurveyMonkey only lets you take the survey one time on the browser. So we had to get histories cleared on some of the browsers when the kids were retaking them. But other than that, it went really smooth. When we asked students about self-harm or suicidal ideation, it is ethical for us that we need to speak with that student and touch base with that student that same day. This works super well with these surveys. We would give the survey, we'd get down to our office, we'd run. You can click on the actual question to show us what student answered that way. They all were given a code that we were given from IT, so we were able to look their codes up and touch base with every single one of those students by the end of the day to assess a need with that. We also asked multiple questions about if they needed, just what have they been experiencing since school started? Are you feeling like you're not fitting in? Have you been dealing with depression? Are you having conflict with friends? Are you having issues at home? So they were able to answer a wide variety of things that would be going on. So we kind of use that as how can we get to know our students better? Because there's 550 kids. So we're each responsible roughly for 225. That's a lot of kids to get to know on an individual basis. So this helps us get to know some of the issues that they're dealing with. They also are able to sign up for groups this way, so then we can gauge an interest in a group. How many kids do we have that's interested in a study skills group? How many are interested in a families in separate homes group? So where is our group interest at? So we're using that. And then also, excuse me, we asked questions about how many kids are interested in information about jobs. And we also asked how many hours a week do you work is a paid job? How many hours a week are you spending on extracurriculars? Just to get a gauge for that. And then we also asked questions about, are you interested in resources for your family, such as my family needs help finding food, or other outside resources. So if they were wondering on that. So that's kind of how we get to know our kids, and it's a secure yet safe environment for them to answer some of those questions, and it's not maybe as odd as us putting them quite on the spot. This also will give us some really great data that we can use to help. We're hoping with, like, especially our guidance curriculum and things that we do out throughout the school, that, 70% of our students are saying that they want more academic study skills. So maybe we need to add more of that to our guidance curriculum. So that's kind of what we're using our counseling survey for. I would say that most of the students that we see is self-referral. They literally just show up in our office. They're there right away in the morning. We have kids waiting for us right when we get here at 8 o'clock. And there are kids oftentimes in our office until we leave at 4:30, 4:45, just depending upon the day. So,
We're definitely busy.
yep, there's not too many days. And usually if it's a day where we're like, hey, it's been kind of quiet, it's kind of like, shh, don't say that because it's coming. But
And then the last thing that we'll touch on, we do celebrate American School Counseling Week. This year is February 5th through the 9th. The 9th through the, I can't remember, our National School Counseling, or our School Counseling Conference in North Dakota is the 11th through the 14th, I believe, in Bismarck. And we're very fortunate to have the support of our school system to send us all. We all get to attend that conference and get some really great professional development. And so we look forward to that time because it's kind of a refresher during this time in the middle of the year, and we get to come back with new ideas too. So do you guys have any questions for us at this time?
You have any questions, Diane?
Yes, that was a great comprehensive report. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And, you have a wonderful reputation around the district. All the counselors do, the counseling department. My question is very specific. You mentioned most of your time is spent one-on-one with counseling, from one time to long-term. What percentage of your students are long-term? You're counseling them once or twice a week, and do you ever refer them outside the system to, say, a rehab facility, a counselor, or a psychiatrist, or what goes on there, and do you have a network set up in the Jamestown area for that?
Absolutely. That's a great question. The majority of our students, there are some students that we see just one time. It was a conflict that they needed some help. They needed some just guidance working through it. But a lot of our kids that we see are more than one time. If it's going to be a long-term counseling situation, and we feel that they need more than what a school counselor can give them, because we do very brief counseling. We're not long-term, psychological needing, that sort of thing. We definitely will refer out to agencies in our community, whether that be going through their doctor, or Stanford, or Essentia, or the other mental health care providers in town. We have a great relationship with Human Service Center in town, so we definitely have referral systems that if we do see that they're needing more than what we can provide, we do refer them out, and we have great relationships with our community resources.
I would say there's lots of barriers, however, for our students receiving that long-term mental health counseling outside of school that they need. So even in a city the size of Jamestown, where we do actually have quite a bit more resources than some of our colleagues in some of the smaller districts, we still are the sole mental health provider for some of our students. And for the vast majority of the kids that we see, I would say 90% of the kids that we see on a day-to-day basis, we see a minimum of one scheduled time per week, and many of them are coming in several times throughout the week at different times. So, and there's we were talking about how to best explain that. There's just lots and lots of different obstacles for our students being able to receive the mental health care that they need.
Any other questions, or Greg?
Probably kind of a two-part question, but I mean, over the years, and I guess recently and coming up, have you seen any type of trends coming up with some of the counseling that you're having to do? And is there one grade that has kind of more, I don't want to say issues, but concerns than another grade, as you've seen?
I wouldn't say that any one grade has any more concerns. They're just different because we do have such development. Lizzie did a great job of explaining that our sixth graders, when they come in, are still little kids almost. They're 11, and when they leave, they're 14. So I wouldn't say that anyone has more needs. Their needs are just different. Does that kind of answer? As far as trends, we're seeing more needs for mental health counseling. That would be the trend. More and more of our students are identifying as having dealing with depression on a daily basis, or dealing with depression that is mild or moderate to severe, that it interrupted on their daily activities. We've seen that with our YRBS survey, and those numbers are only going up. So I would say that's kind of the trend. More kids are dealing with some mental health issues that are ongoing, I would say.
Well, thank you for being there for them. I appreciate that.
Bob?
We're always concerned about drug and alcohol use from kids, and without going into a lot of detail, how would you, how do you deal with some student that you feel concerned that maybe they have an issue with substance abuse?
I definitely feel like we have some sort of training in drug and alcohol abuse, but by no means are we experts in that. So if we feel like there's a student that is having some significant drug and alcohol problems, obviously helping them as much as we can in school, working with parents, and also referring when we need to, referring to that outside agency that does have some training in specifically drug and alcohol addiction.
Any other questions? I have one. With the groups, I think that's a good program to get, a bunch together. When during the day do you do that? Is it after school or?
That's a great question. We try, because there's many, many kids that have after-school activities. They ride the bus. And so that after-school time would be that ideal time, but then we limit the kids that can attend. So what we try to do is host these groups throughout the day. And fortunately, we have really great teachers who support us in our program. So we run our groups for about 6 to 8 weeks. And so how we do that, so they don't miss the same class every day, we usually run our group for one class period, and then we rotate weeks, so they miss maybe first hour, and then the next week they miss second hour, so they're only missing that class period one time, and then of course they're responsible to make up that work, but we have very supportive staff to help us with that, so we're fortunate.
Okay. Rob, you had a comment? Or?
I did, just to echo the comments that I had when we met last, and we heard from our elementary our elementary counselors. The major pillars of school are threefold: academic, of course, custodial, but also the developmental of social and emotional young people. And our counselors are really critical in each one of those areas, and we would really be at a loss without them. And they do such a great job and work very hard for all of our kids and for our teachers and for the betterment of all of us. And I appreciate very much all the work that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We appreciate the support of you guys. We were talking when we did this as well. American School Counseling Association recommends a 1 to 250 student ratio, and Lindsay and I are fortunate. We are in a building where we actually are right at that number. So, and we're very appreciative of all the support that you've given our counseling department throughout the years.
Thank you. So, moving on to number 2, we have supporting families in need. Joan and Lana, would you like to come forward, please?
Good afternoon. I'm Joan Morris, and I'm one of the board members of the Daily Bread Jamestown program. I've been here before, but for folks that are not familiar with our program, the Daily Bread program is an all-volunteer organization. And what our goal is to rescue prepared food in the community and distribute it to the hungry folks in the community. So the Daily Bread Jamestown program was patterned off the Daily Bread programs in Bismarck and Fargo. Those programs are a little bit more established, and both of them are under the guidance of Great Plains Food Bank out of Fargo. We're not under the Great Plains Food Bank. We're just a volunteer type of organization, but they provided a lot of input and help as we've gotten started. The one criteria about the food that we rescue, it has to be prepared in a North Dakota State Health Department certified kitchen. And there's National Good Samaritan laws that protect the supplier of the food. And there's an honor system for who the food goes to. We don't have any application forms or anything like that. We have the food in place, and if folks are hungry, we ask that they take the food. We've had an involvement with the Jamestown School Board since 2014. And I still remember the day that I emailed Rob and said, "Can you give me a call? I got something to talk to you about." And it was quite an unusual type of request. What we wanted to do in the summer of 2014 was put one of our freezers in Washington School, because that's where the most program was being held. And we didn't really know what sort of demand that we were going to get, but we just wanted to try it out. As we went through that summer, we realized that there was a very strong demand for the food. And so then we approached Rob and the school board about the possibility of placing freezers at all the Jamestown public schools. And if you see the slide that I had prepared, we have right now freezers at all the locations. We started in September of 2014. We finished in January of 2015. The order of placement was decided by the school administrators. We really wanted to target the schools that we thought had the most need and then kind of go from there. I will say that in visiting with the folks from Great Plains Food Bank, when we mentioned the fact that we had freezers placed at all public schools, they were amazed, and they were very happy to hear that. In addition to the freezer locations at the public schools, we also are targeting other members of our community. So we have freezers at the James River Senior Center, St. John's Lutheran Church, Gardenette, the James House, Ave Maria Nursing Home, and Community Options. Also at the Senior Center, St. John's Lutheran, and Gardenette, starting this fall, we started rescuing refrigerated food, produce, from Russ Davis Wholesale. And that, again, was a branching out of a type of food. Before that, we were just looking at prepared food, and we would freeze it and then deliver it to the freezer locations. And now, in addition to that, we are actually delivering some produce, too. Quite a large demand for the produce. As I alluded to before, Daily Bread Jamestown is an all-volunteer program. And to be very frank, we would not be able to operate unless we had those volunteers. And it's not the volunteers on the board. To me, the unsung heroes of all of this are the volunteers that deal with the food on a daily basis. In the schools, what I'm referring to is the cooks. The cooks in all the schools are donating excess food to the freezers that are located in their location. We provide the freezer bags, and if there's any food left over, they'll place the food in the bag and then also place it in the freezer. In 2017, we estimated about 1,500 pounds per year of food was rescued. That might seem a lot, but when you start doing the calculations, you also factor in the fact that we were also at the MOST program again last summer. It's probably around less than 10 pounds per day of food in all of the schools. I continue to be impressed at how efficient the high school and all the other schools are in their food preparation. But anything that's left, those cooks are willing to put that food into the freezer. I had the opportunity to visit with one of the cooks last summer. Just happened to run into them, and we started having a conversation, and I just can't tell you how impressed I was with the dedication of those cooks. They're their children, and their children have at home situations where they don't have food, and so they're very willing to help those children get the food. We also have volunteers that pick up the food at our some of the locations in town. I don't really know how they do it, but we have 4 regular and 2 substitute volunteers. They pick up all the frozen food and distribute it to the locations. We have 1 volunteer that picks up over 200 pounds of food per week. Also, the Triumph clients, they are the ones that are distributing the fresh produce that's provided by Russ Davis Wholesale. Again, it's a situation where we're just trying it out to see if it worked, and we're finding that it's a very good program. Also, Daily Bread Jamestown is involved as a local distributor of senior low-income government food commodities. There's a commodity program that again is run by the Great Plains Food Bank. We are the Jamestown location, and what we do is we help distribute government food that's brought by the food bank to Jamestown. We take the pallets, we break the pallets out open. Some of the folks that need the food drive to Ave Maria to pick up the food, or else we deliver the food to them, and that's 6 times a year. Just to give you an idea of the impact of Daily Bread, in 2017, we rescued over 8 tons of food. In 2016, we rescued about 6 tons of food. When we first started in 2014, we were really proud because we did 2 tons. So you can see that we have a large quantity of food that's being rescued. And I guess my question is what did these folks do before there was Daily Bread? The demand is there for the Daily Bread. Our main problem is the fact that it's hard for us to find donors. Some folks have dealt with Daily Bread programs at other locations, some of the multi-state franchises, and so they're very willing to help. Other people just kind of look at you like, you want what from us? So it's part of the education type of process. But we're very fortunate. We have the Hampton Inn, Fairfield Inn, Comfort Inn, Pizza Ranch. We have the Exxon I-94 stop, Papa Murphy's, Dan's Super Stop, Ave Maria, Edgewood Senior Living, Jamestown Regional Medical Center, James River Senior Center, Knights of Columbus, Papa Murphy, and Russ Davis Wholesale, who provides the local fresh food. So our problem is, again, getting the food. And so sometimes what we do, particularly in September when we were starting up the freezers again at all the locations, we receive pasta or else potatoes. Pasta from the pasta plant in Carrington, potatoes from Cavendish, and we actually made our own meals and froze them so that we could keep up with the demand that we have. So, any questions?
Heidi?
Joan, I appreciate your involvement in this, and it, we have students that we're concerned about their test scores and those kinds of things. Well, if they have a hungry stomach, that's going to detract them from their test scores. So we just really appreciate all that you've done, putting freezers into all the schools and having food in them, so families that need the food are able to take it. If people want to volunteer, donate money, sign up as providing the food, if they're a certified kitchen, how do they get a hold of you?
They can contact me. I work at AgriCover, so they can contact me at AgriCover. Also, Tom Geffrey, he is our chair. He's retired now, but I can get you in contact with Tom, and Tom will be able to provide. We have the freezers ready to go. We have the freezer bags. Volunteers are coordinated through Deb Lee with the Jamestown Volunteers. So again, that's a contact that can get people involved that way.
Any other questions? Rob, you have a comment?
I did have a comment, and just to reinforce for those maybe watching on TV that are either in need themselves or know of somebody in need, just to reinforce that those freezers are available at a number of different locations throughout Jamestown, and that's a very quick phone call to any of the schools and set up a time that works for people. That's really what they're for, and we want to reinforce that those are options for people, and any way that we can help as a school, we'd be happy to do so. But thank you, Joan, for all the work that you've done, bringing this forward to us.
And thank you to the school board for your support. It's pretty amazing that there's freezers in every school location, and it's because of Rob and his support and all of your support, and we thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks for coming, Joan. Then moving into Summer Most Lunch. So, Lana?
Hi, my name is Lana Meisner. I'm the site coordinator for the MOST program here in Jamestown. Currently, we are in 3 schools, Washington, Lincoln, and Roosevelt. This summer, we only offered the program for the students that were currently in the after-school program during the school year, just for budget reasons through the Southeast Education Cooperative. With that, what we did is last summer was my first summer doing it, but we did a lunch program through the DPI Foods, and they provide us with financial support to help us serve our community with food. So last year we had about 70 students signed up just in the MOSE program, and of those 70, I would say we served about 60 total every day just at our program kids. On top of that, we had probably, in our numbers and the numbers I looked at, we had about 8 to 10 kids. Otherwise, that was just for lunch. We did the breakfast also. For the breakfast, we did maybe about 20 to 25 of our students and another 10 again from the community students. The summer programming, we started in June, and so that's when we started with the food program, and we ended July, the last Friday of July, and so that's when we ended with the food program. So it was really only the 2 months of summer. I know it's not enough time, and hopefully this year I can get it to go a little bit longer, but the reason that we limited again the number was the budget. I was only allowed a certain number of staff, so I can't go over the student to staff ratio. I do know that in the past that they have tried to figure out ways to get students from other places here in Jamestown to Washington, because we are located only at Washington Elementary in the summer. I have worked a little bit with United Way this year, talking to them to see if we could possibly get something with busing or other things, but it's hard because it's expensive to bus. So, does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for him? No?
So Lana, who is eligible then to receive as students, if I'm hearing you correctly, and just to reaffirm with the board, any student?
Any student, K-12, in the school system is free to come to the breakfast and the lunch.
And if they are eligible for free and reduced lunch, they can receive a lunch.
They don't even have to be eligible, as if they're a student in the Jamestown Public School systems, they may come and have a meal.
Breakfast and lunch.
Breakfast and lunch.
During the time period
During
of the
time
summer
period,
most.
Yep.
And what are the dates for summer most?
That's a very good question. I'm working on that. I'm hoping.
But
in general, we run the beginning of June to the end of July. This year, I'm hoping to go into August. We run our breakfast program from 8 to 8:30 and our lunch program from 12 to 12:30. We try to get our students that are in the program fed first and then have the other students come so that ours are out of the way.
So just as a follow-up, kind of to reaffirm again what Heidi had said earlier, when we have our students beyond those three pillars, considering our three pillars of academic and social emotional development and custodial, it's very hard to do that when our students are hungry. And, whether it be Daily Bread and the work that committee has done, or the Summer Most program that provides lunches in the summertime, we think we have an important role in terms of that side of our students. So I just wanted to make sure that the board was educated and about those services and what we do provide within that realm. So thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say we pretty much filled up the freezer every week, and it was empty by the end of the week too, with the Daily Bread. So they were using it all summer long also. So thank you very much.
Yep, thanks for what you do. Moving on the agenda, any old business? Hearing none, moving into new business. We have nothing under activities, building or grounds, or curriculum. Moving into finance, the general fund balance. Sally, is that just there for our information, or?
Yes, if you have any questions, that's something I do every month. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Moving to letter B, is there a motion to approve the monthly financial reports? Motion by Brenda, seconded by Greg. Any discussion? Hearing none, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving into personnel, is there a motion to approve the resignation of Gail Nielsen, counselor at the high school, at the conclusion of the 2017-18 school year? Heidi? There a second? Second by Jennifer. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to letter B, is there a motion to approve the resignation of Sarah Crumweedy, English teacher at the middle school at the conclusion of the 2017-18 school year? Motion by Greg, seconded by Heidi. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving into policy and procedures, is there a motion to rescind the professional development policy, DHBA? Motion by Bob. Seconded by Jennifer. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to letter B, is there a motion to rescind the married staff members, D1? Motion by Brenda. Seconded by Steve. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to letter C, is there a motion to rescind professional dues, D3? Motion by Jennifer. Seconded by Heidi. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to letter D, is there a motion to review the Jamestown Public School District Cardholder Employee Agreement, HCAG-E? Motion by Brenda. Seconded by Diane. Any discussion? Greg?
I should have gone over these. I apologize. I should have gone over this in my report a little bit more. But we do just want to review the policy that it's in place. It's just one of those that the recommendation is to review it regularly. And so we wanted to review that policy. And I just wanted to touch on the rescinding. Some of these policies go into handbooks or are already in handbooks. Some of them are not required because they're statutory. And again, just guidance we've received from the School Boards Association policy review.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to letter E, is there a motion to approve the first reading of the unauthorized purchases policy, DEBJ? Motion by Jennifer. Seconded by Greg. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to letter F, is there a motion to amend the open enrollment policy, FAAA, and the subsequent one exhibit? Motion by Bob, seconded by Steve. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving into the letter G, is there a motion to approve all the second readings, G through W? Motion by Cedric. Seconded by Greg. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving into tuition, is there a motion to approve the tuition agreement for a sixth grade student to attend Pingree Buchanan Public School for the 2017-18 school year? Motion by Brenda, seconded by Jennifer. Any discussion? Hearing none. Assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to letter B, is there a motion to approve the tuition agreement for a Jamestown kindergarten student to attend Pingree Buchanan Public School for the 2017-18 school year? Motion by Diane. Seconded by Greg. Any discussion? Hearing none. Assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving into number 8, under other, is there a motion to approve the 2018-19, 19-20 Jamestown Public School calendar? Motion by Jennifer, seconded by Greg. Any discussion? Jennifer?
I just had one quick question on the school year 1920. It appears that we're taking off a Friday instead of taking off President's Day. What is the thought process behind that?
As we've done these, they are, the calendar committee meets and reviews all of these. And when you work with a start date, you work with an end date, and you have 175 days to meet, it's simply what days off. And really it was 1920 you had the question, right? What 1920 allowed, based on the discussion of the committee, was the full 2-week at Christmas break. And just based on when the days fall, if you choose not to do that, you'd be coming back on a Friday, having 1 day of school, and then coming back, and it was just the give and a take of the days. But we did have some discussion about that, because traditionally, we have taken that day off. But the thought process being that longer break at Christmas was the desire of the committee. Answer your question.
Any other discussion? Heidi?
I'm kind of following the same line of thought here. With that February date, I noticed the 7th, and I know there's parent-teacher conferences that way. Are those pretty well set in stone, or do we have the ability to move teacher conferences so it would allow a President's Day off, that be the other day, or are they pretty well set for the schedules that they have?
Well, with parent-teacher conferences, what our discussions have been is you want to have them, the timing of a parent-teacher conference is the most important thing. We want to have them early enough or late enough in the semester or the quarter that you would have good data to talk to parents about, but early enough that any intervention would be successful. You don't want to have them so late. And the discussion around the committee has been to get that, if you're having the comp day, which is statutory, that it's as close to the date of conferences as they can be. And so we did have quite a bit of discussion about that 7th versus different dates, but ultimately, again, the committee felt that those are the dates that they supported.
Heidi?
So, yep, and I do appreciate the committee's work, and I know it's easy to, after it's all done and they've deliberated a long time, or this is easy to come in and say, oh, what about this day or this day? And I don't mean to do that, but I just had noticed that one day earlier in the month. I will just comment, though, I do get comments from the public oftentimes when we don't take that President's Day off. There are different events that are held that day, including college visit days that different colleges have. And so I just, and I know that they know that and they keep that in mind. And it's not an easy job putting this calendar together, again, with the start date and the end date where we want it. And so I do appreciate their work. But I just also wanted to mention that I do get comments from constituents about having that day off because of different events.
Okay, thanks, Heidi. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to letter B, we have the election timeline. And Sally, would you like to go over that?
Yes. In June 12th, the school board will conduct an election, and that's held in conjunction with the city election. And the board members that are up for re-election are Heidi Larson, Brenda Remick, Robert Toso, Cedric Trevithick, and Greg Allen. Okay, so the election will be 2 representatives from the rural and 3 representatives from the city. Okay, currently on our web right now, it says January 16th, but it's ready to roll. Those board packets, the application, the information that they need is on our web. They can also be picked up from our receptionist. And for your information, attached, on Google Drive is all the information, the instructions on what needs to be done. On March 7th, there'll be a notice in the Jamestown Sun notifying everybody the election, the deadline date. applications by law need to be in this office by 4 PM on April 9th. And so even if somebody comes in at 4:15, the law is at 4 PM on April 9th. On April 11th, we conduct a ballot drawing, and we just simply draw city number 1, city number 2. That's been a recommendation, and we continue to do that. We just draw those. It's recommended for yourself or anybody that's running to be there or a representative. Even if you're not, we just have some people in our office pretend that there's somebody, and that just places a name on the ballot. The rest of it is deadlines of stuff, information that has to be submitted. The ballot has to be submitted to the county by May 3rd. And then a notice of the election placed in the Jamestown Sun on May 30th. And again, reiterating, the election is June 12th. And then at the June 18th, actually, the canvassing board, I talked to the Nicole Melland of the county. Their canvassing board meets at noon on June 18th, so she will have the official results that afternoon. And so at the June 18th board meeting, we'll declare the results of the election. And then from that time, June 22nd, by June 22nd, those members have to take an oath of office, and by the end of the month, it's certified to the county. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. But those packets, like I said, are on the web. You know, there is the instructions. It also reviews, you know, it has an application. You're going to apply and check whether you're city or rural. There's a statement of intent to run, which is an actual state form. And then the ballot drawing instructions, which I just kind of highlighted. Now, all of that can be picked up in the central office right now, or it is on our webpage under school board election, under school board, under election, and so it can be filled out online there. So, any questions?
No, I think you covered everything on that, so thanks, Sally.
You bet.
Moving to Roman numeral 4 there, any items for future agenda? Hearing none. If something does come up, just let Rob or myself know and we'll get it on there. Roman numeral 5, we have meetings to be scheduled. We have the District Improvement Committee meeting on Thursday, February 1st at 3:30 in the Thompson Community Room in the middle school. We have our next school board meeting on Monday, February 5th at 5:15, and that's going to be at the library in the high school. So just make that change. We have the North Dakota School Board Association Negotiation Seminar coming up Thursday and Friday, February 8th and 9th in Bismarck. And then Roman numeral number 6 to do our monthly superintendent evaluation. It's section 4 and 5. And then also to remind you guys to right-click on your adjournment to assess the meeting. Heidi?
I just have a question about the meeting.
Mike?
Sorry. Okay. On February 5th, the meeting, are we going to tour before that or after that, or what's our schedule for that night, since we're meeting in a different location?
Thank you for that reminder. We will have our meeting, and at the end of our meeting, we will then have a tour of the makerspace, have some student demonstration of what they do while they're there. And I know I had just talked with Mr. Gaylor earlier today, and maybe there'll be something more with recognizing some of the those donors that have provided to the makerspace. He's trying to coordinate something. If it works out, that's great to do it then. But if not, they'll do that at a different time. But that will happen after our meeting.
Nothing else? Just a reminder you to right-click and assess our meeting, and the meeting is adjourned.